In this gentle place lived a widowed baker named Marcelina, whose hands carried the knowledge of generations. Each night she awakened while the rest of the village slept, to tend to her hearth. This stamp, carved from olive wood, bore the emblem of a star nestled within a crescent moon. It hummed with history as though it remembered prayers and whispered wishes from centuries past. She pressed soft flour into ancient wooden bowls, watched the dough rise, like tender dreams. You can sense that sweet, comforting scent, the marriage of warm bread and crackling. You might hear a single log adjust in the hearth, the ember sending forth a whisper of crackle. Imagine the gentle pop as heat meets dough, the oven door closing like a contented sigh. The aroma intensifies flour and fire, a harmony that wraps around you. Each breath you take carries this warmth deeper into your chest, deeper into your bones. The loaves rest now, slumbering upward, golden beneath the flicker of lantern light. The moon's silver glow filters through branches overhead, casting slow-moving shadows that sway with the breeze. A lullaby of wind and leaf, gentle and constant, rocks you ever forward toward dreamy quiet. Before shaping each loaf, Marcelina would reach for an ancient Roman bread stamp passed down in her family. Outside, the gentle breeze subsides. Inside, the oven's warmth pulses like a heartbeat. Your heartbeat. Each inhale and exhale a soft echo of comfort. Her fingers shaped the dough as they once shaped grief and love, loss and renewal. Breathe in the scent of simmering hearth and fresh dough. Feel the slow grounding of your body, heavy and safe. Marcelina places her final loaf upon a wooden board, pressing the ancient stamp one last time. You can almost feel the imprint, a star between a crescent moon, an emblem of quiet magic. With each fold and press, you can imagine the echoes of generations. The weaving of past and present, a calm lineage of care, handed from hand to hand, heart to heart. Imagine the faint creak of her candle's wick, the delicate dusting of flour dancing in the glow, and the gentle press of stamp upon dough. Let your mind soften as Marcelina glides back inside, carrying the risen loaves to the warm hearth. Can you sense the supple crust forming, the gentle glow of golden dough? In this hushed, tender moment, there is nothing you need to do except listen. As Marcelina pressed the pattern, a hush seemed to fall, a moment of quiet reverence. In medieval times, bakers would mark their loaves with symbols, sometimes blessings, sometimes spells hoping for protection or good fortune. A breeze rustles the leaves above, as though whispering secrets learned from ancient trees. She closes her eyes and breathes in the hush of midnight. Promise of tomorrow's loaves, the quiet companionship of the stars above. You too can feel that breeze, light upon your skin, carrying the faint sound of distant crickets, a lullaby born of earth and night. Picture that intention, swirling through the night air, mingling with the scent of yeast rising. Softly, softly, You can feel the warmth of the oven's embrace. Marcelina steps outside, her breath forming a gentle mist in the nighttime air. Let your own hands rest easy, your muscles releasing with each exhale. Night deepens, and the baker slides her loaves into the ovens. Outside again, the village sleeps under the watchful gaze of starlight. Inside, Marcelina needs another botch each movement, deliberate. Now, let your thoughts slow, like leaves drifting down a slow stream. And as the loaves finish their rise, as fire warms stone and air, all is still. The hours pass gently in the little hamlet. The sky above has deepened to a shade of midnight blue so rich, so still. It feels like velvet stretched from one end of the world to the other. Only the moon and her constellation of stars keep watch. Each movement is deliberate knead, fold, press, shape. Imagine it wrapping around your shoulders, soothing, familiar, safe. All creatures of the hamlet seem to respect the hush of this sacred hour. The hour when bread is born. The dough is supple beneath her touch. She whispers to it in Italian, the language of her great-grandmother, who first taught her to bake by candlelight. Within the bakery's humble walls, Marcelina tends to the fire. He believed the bread stamp held power, not magic, exactly, but something sacred. A legacy. The hearth crackles with contentment, a soft and ancient voice. It speaks not in words, but in warmth. Every loaf they gave to the village carried not just food, but love, memory, warmth. The crusts crackle faintly as they cool. She lines them up on wooden shelves, each stamped with the same ancient symbol, glowing slightly under the soft amber light of the bakery. She stokes the flame carefully, rhythmically. The pop of wood and the low whoosh of heat rising, forming a lullaby only the night understands. She moves with a grace born of repetition and reverence, her fingers now worn smooth by years of flour and time. You can almost hear that whisper carried to you, like wind through old stone streets. You might hear the distant hoot of an owl perched on a crumbling stone wall, or the soft shuffle of a hedgehog passing underbrush. The delicate scent of rosemary tucked into one loaf for old Signora Rinaldi, who can no longer walk to the market. Or the sprinkle of sugar on the sweet bun left aside for the little boy with the big brown eyes. Marcelina pauses to rest her hands, wiping them gently on her linen apron. The flame flickers, but doesn't go out. She walks to the window where old iron latches hold the glass in place. And in those constellations, she sees stories. The twin lions who guard the wheat fields. The shepherd who waits with open arms. She takes the wooden stamp-worn smooth edges, softened by time, and holds it up to the flickering candlelight. The ancient goddess who bakes suns and moons into round, golden loaves. She whispers a word that no one else would understand, a word taught to her by her grandmother in a dream long ago. And in that whisper is peace, memory, lineage, and trust. The panes are fogged slightly from the heat within. She places her hand against the cool window and gazes out into the dark. The breeze carries the scent of the loaves down the sloping hill, toward the homes that still sleep, and hands will reach for bread still warm from the night's fire. Beyond the bakery's glow, the world is dipped in shadow, soft-edged and glimmering. Let the rhythm of breath and fire guide you to a place where dreams rise slow and golden beneath the stars. The stars are bright tonight, brighter than they've been in weeks. But maybe, just maybe, they'll feel a little more held, a little more loved, as they bite into a piece of bread that tastes like home. Marcelina closes her eyes for a moment. She remembers. She remembers when her husband was still alive, how they used to watch the stars together from the roof above the bakery, their hands dusted in flour. Every loaf they made together bore the mark of the star and crescent. She opens her eyes now and turns back toward the loaves. They are ready. With care, she removes them from the oven, each one golden and perfect, steam rising like breath from warm skin. Can you smell it now? That earthy sweetness of fresh bread, the smoky comfort of firewood. It's all there, suspended in the warm, flour-thick air. And in this quiet moment, something happens. Marcelina moves toward her work table, her breath slow, steady. Then she does something she's never done before. She presses the stamp to her own chest, just above her heart. The moment stretches. A breeze lifts through the open window, cool and gentle, wrapping the room in a spiral of scent and stillness. And then something changes. The star on the stamp glows, not brightly, not with fire or flame, but with something softer. Something like starlight caught in olive wood. Marcelina doesn't gasp. She simply smiles. A small, knowing smile. The glow fades gently. The star remains. Outside, the dawn begins to stir. A line of light touches the horizon. The stars blink sleepily, preparing to rest. One by one, shutters will creak open. Feet will shuffle down quiet paths. Doors will open to the morning. Marcelina will greet them all, as she always has. With quiet warmth and gentle eyes. No one will mention the mark. No one will ask about the glow. You are part of this story now. Let it warm you. Let the night cradle you. The sun has not yet risen over the hills, but the air has shifted no longer. Full night. There is a kind of hush here, the secret hour between worlds. And in this hour, the baker moves slowly, reverently, among her loaves. Marcelina takes a small wicker basket from the shelf beside the hearth. It is older than most of the furniture in the room, woven by her grandmother's own hands. When she was just a girl in the countryside of Lazio, whose daughter is to be wed tomorrow. One for the weaver, who just lost her sister, and one for the chapel at the edge of town, where candles flicker all night for travelers who never made it home. The edges are frayed, but strong. The weave still holds. She selects 3 loaves each, stamped with the crescent and star end, places them gently in the basket, wrapping them in soft linen cloth. Water has been simmering slowly over the coals, and now she pours it into her worn clay cup, adding a few sprigs of lemon balm and fennel from the drying rack above. The loaves rest in the basket like newborn things, warm, wrapped, perfect. She places the basket near the door and moves toward her kettle. A robin sings first, then a lark. Their songs weave gently into the quiet, the way sunlight braids through mist. The steam curls upward like incense, filling the room with gentle green and citrus warmth. You can almost feel that steam now, rising across your skin. Stone and wood, tile and chimney, all bask in the hush of a waking world, where her son once carved his name with a butter knife while pretending to be a pirate. She cradles the cup in both hands, gazing out at the fading stars, warming your lips and eyelids, gently coaxing you even deeper into calm. Marcelina sits at the wooden table near the window, the same table where she once braided dough with her husband. One by one, soft, uncertain notes that shimmer in the air like threads of silver. In her mind, she sees every loaf she's ever made, every hand that received them, old hands, young hands, shaking hands, calloused hands. And slowly, tenderly, the sky begins to lighten. Not all at once, but in soft strokes. Blush, blush, bink. The rooftops of the hamlet catch that first light, as if kissed by the breath of the morning. You can hear the faint rustle of sheets in homes nearby, the creak of shutters, a kettle coming to boil in another kitchen. But in Marcelina's bakery, all remains still, sacred. The breeze greets her like an old friend, brushing through her gray hair, lifting the corner of her apron. Hands that have buried loved ones, hands that have caught newborns, hands that have tilled soil, carved stone, spun yarn, built fires. She has fed them all, and every loaf has carried a part of her. A star kneaded into the crust, a hope risen into the dough. Do you feel that? That slow, rhythmic heartbeat of giving. It moves through her. And now, through you. Because this is not just her story. This is the story of all who bake love into daily life, who warm the world in quiet ways, unseen but essential. Now Marcelina rises from her chair, her cup empty, her heart full. She wraps a shawl around her shoulders and opens the door. She steps outside. Marcelina smiles and sets down a warm loaf wrapped in linen. She places a sprig of rosemary beside it, a symbol of remembrance and joy. The earth is still damp with dew. The stones of the path cool beneath her feet. A hush holds the village still, but beneath that hush is promise. She leaves the second loaf on a stool near the door, placing a single pressed violet atop the linen wrap. You can hear It footsteps, laughter, the clang of iron, the bleat of goats. Life unfolding like warm dough beneath rising sun. She walks, not quickly, not with urgency, wipes flour from the counter, begins the next batch, but with rhythm, with presence, each step as soft as a lullaby. Past the blacksmith's quiet forge, past the ivy-covered library where no lantern yet burns, past the well where ivy creeps between stones and moss, listens to morning secrets. She arrives at the stonemason's home first. His dog old, blind lifts its head from the doorstep and wags once. Then she moves on. To the weaveress cottage where shadows still rest on the windowsill and the scent of lavender hangs in the air. Finally, she walks the winding path to the chapel. There, behind ivy-covered stone and weathered wooden doors, the caretaker is lighting candles for the day. They don't speak. She sets the third loaf on the altar by the door, beneath a small stained glass window, where light now streams through in colors that dance on the bread's crust. 3 blessings. And still, the morning, the hamlet begins to wake in earnest now. Marcelina returns home slowly, her hands empty, but her heart full. The fire in the hearth has dimmed 2 embers, glowing red and gold. She places more wood on the fire. The flame rises again low and steady, reliable, comforting. She sets down her shawl, because there is always more bread to make, always more hearts to feed, always more stars to knead into the quiet warmth of life. And so she begins again. And you, dear listener, are welcome to rest in this rhythm. Inhale, like the warmth rising from the hearth. Exhale, like the steam from a morning cup. Inhale, like fresh dough beneath kind hands. Exhale, like sleep, descending soft and slow. You're safe here. In this story, our story continues as the hamlet begins to fully wake. Children's laughter dances through open windows. Footsteps patter on stone paths. And the smell, that warm, beckoning smell of bread spills. From behind her wooden counter, Marcelina welcomes the first visitor of the day. It is Luca, the blacksmith's son. His cheeks are flushed with morning, his hands eager. He places a single copper coin on the counter far, less than the loaf is worth, and waits, with wide eyes. Marcelina smiles softly. She selects a round, honey-glazed bun from the basket and hands it to him with both palms. He grins, and before running out the door, he whispers, "Grazie, si." The bell on the door jingles as he disappears down the road, bun in hand, joy in step. This is how her mornings pass, one face after another. Old, young, quiet, cheerful, each met with warmth. A word, what no one sees, is the gentle spell she weaves into each loaf. Not a spell of potions or charms, but of presence, of breath, of memory. Because Marcelina doesn't just need flour and water. She needs stories. She needs wishes. She needs grief and healing, laughter and longing, until they become sustenance. Outside, a breeze flutters down the lane, carrying with it the scent of rosemary and thyme. Imagine that breeze now. Cool, soft, playful. It wraps around you like a shawl freshly woven, light and fragrant. They gossip in quiet voices, passing news like buttons and thread. A group of women gather at the town square. They laugh, their aprons dusted with flour, their baskets empty still but hopeful. Always wrapped so beautifully. Another adds, it must be enchanted. Marcelina, back at her oven, doesn't need to hear these words. She already knows. She's known since the first day she pressed the starring crescent stamp into dough. Since the first loaf gave warmth to someone in silence. The stamp itself is resting now on the mantel, beside a small carved figure of Fortuna, goddess of abundance. Its edges worn, its handle darkened with age. But still, it hums faintly, a sound only the baker can hear. She reaches for it. This time, she chooses a special douane, enriched with cardamom and orange peel. She presses the stamp slowly, reverently, into the soft surface. As the wood touches the dough, there is a faint shimmer like frost catching moonlight. The pattern appears, a star curved lovingly into a crescent moon, a promise. Outside, the wind picks up slightly. The bell above the door sways gently, but no one enters. Not yet. This loaf is not for sale. This one is meant for someone who hasn't yet arrived. Someone still on the road. Still searching. Still in need of warmth. As the day moves forward and the sun arcs high above the hills, the town begins to hum with life. Chickens cluck in dusty yards. Laundry flaps on thin rope lines. Children skip stones at the brook. But inside the bakery, time moves slower. The air is still thick with comfort. You can smell the sugar crust, the cinnamon, the temps of sourdough starter. You can hear the gentle clink of cooling trays, the steady crackle of a fire that never goes out. And slowly, the shadows begin to lengthen once more. The golden hour approaches. That time of day when everything glows softly warm and low, and the world exhales. Marcelina lights a candle in the window. It is her quiet ritual, not for light, but for welcome. Somewhere down the road, a traveler walks. Dusty boots, worn satchel, drawn by the scent, drawn by the warmth, drawn by something they don't yet understand. They will arrive just as the last loaf cools, and the baker will greet them with a nod, a soft smile, and the loaf marked with stars. That is for later. For now, the fire glows, the bread rests, and the story slows. Just like your breath, inhale, warm and fragrant. Exhale, soft and slow. Inhale, like fresh dough rising. Exhale, like twilight, settling on stone. You're safe here, still wrapped in this gentle tale. Still welcome in this quiet bakery where blessings are kneaded like stars into dough. The sun dips lower, painting the horizon in molten gold and lavender. Shadows stretch long across the cobblestones, and lanterns begin to glow one by one. Marcelina stands in the doorway of her bakery, arms folded gently across her flower-dusted apron. She watches the evening unfold not as something new, but as something familiar, like the folding of a beloved letter. Villagers pass by with their loaves in hand. Each one nods to her. Some smile. Some press palms to their hearts in gratitude. Some just meet her eyes, and that's enough. She nods in return. Nothing needs to be said. The fire in the oven crackles still. Low now, glowing like embers in the soul. She lets it die slowly, the way her grandmother taught her. Let heat leave the hearth like a sigh, she once whispered. Not a scream, not a snap. A breath. You can feel that warmth now, soft on your skin, the way memory lingers after the dream. She takes a broom made of straw and lavender stalks and begins to sweep. Each sweep carries a whisper. The room still glows in candlelight. Every shelf now empty, every loaf given, except one. The cardamom and orange peel loaf. The one marked with starlight. She wraps it in cloth, tied with a soft twine bow, and sets it in the window, a beacon. Not just for the village, but for the wanderer. Far down the valley path, a figure walks. Their feet are tired, their hands are cold. A satchel swings at their hip thread. They've been walking for longer than they remember, but tonight the wind smells like cinnamon, like honey, like warmth waiting. They follow it step by step until the little hamlet rises into view, nestled like a dream among dark hills. Lanterns twinkle in the windows. Laughter echoes softly from open doors, but the traveler doesn't pause. Not yet. They walk toward the glow that calls to them. Not the brightest glow. Not the biggest house, but the warmest. The bakery. Marcelina feels the shift before the bell rings. The air stirs gently. Like a page about to turn, she looks up. The door opens, and in steps the wanderer. Their cloak is dusted with the world. Their eyes carry stories untold. But in that moment, everything softens. The warmth of the room greets them like a long-lost friend. The scent wraps around their ribs like a woolen shawl. The candle flickers in the window, casting gentle light on the wrapped loaf. Marcelina says nothing. She walks to the window, lifts the bread, places it in the traveler's hands. Their fingers tremble slightly at the edges, but their shoulders ease their breath deepens. They press the warm loaf to their chest and close their eyes. And for a moment, there's only stillness, only fire, only bread, only breath. Marcelina nods once, a blessing in silence. And the traveler, now no longer just a passerby, but a part of this story, this village, this warmth, steps back into the night with a heart a little fuller and hands that carry more than just food. And the night continues. Stars prick the sky. The moon lifts herself, proud and round. Owls blink in rafters. Crickets begin their chorus. Marcelina finishes her sweeping. The stamp rests on the mantel, its edges catching moonlight through the window. She takes her tea and walks outside. The bench beside her door welcomes her like an old friend. And Baker listens, and for the first time in many years, she hums a soft tune, ancient and quiet, like a lullaby carried by wind. You hear it too, don't you? That music in the hush. It curls around you like steam from a fresh cup, like bread still warm from the oven, like the last words whispered before sleep. Breathe in now. Slowly, hold for a moment, and let it go. Feel your body soften, your thoughts slow, your heart rest. There is nothing more to do. You are held, fed, dreaming. Tomorrow, the fire will be lit again. The dough will rise. The stamp will press softly into flour and thyme. But tonight is yours. To rest, to float, to drift beneath a velvet sky where stars are still kneaded into stories that taste. And when you wish to return, to feel the warmth of that hearth again, just whisper. The sky above the village is ink dark now. The stars sewn into its folds. The moon has reached her height, not quite full, but glowing with a quiet power. Inside the bakery, the fire sleeps, not extinguished, just resting. The embers hum beneath ash and stone, their glow soft. Marcelina has washed the last of the bowls, hung her apron by the door, and now prepares for her own rest. But before she retreats to her room, she does one last thing. She stands by the mantel, before the Roman bread stamp. Her hands pressed together, not in prayer exactly, but in presence. She closes her eyes, and she remembers. Long ago before the bakery, before the star-marked loaves, before the warmth filled every corner of this stone house, there was a night like this. A younger Marcelina, her fingers still clumsy in dough, sat at the foot of her grandmother's bed. The old woman, soft, silver-haired, with eyes like burned sugar, held the stamp in her hands. "This," she whispered, "was carved from the branch of an olive tree that grew on sacred ground. Long before I was born, it marked bread for empire. But that was never its true purpose." Marcelina listened, wide-eyed. "The true magic of this stamp," her grandmother continued, "is not in the wood, but in the hands, in the heart that chooses to feed others before herself, in the breath shared between fire and flower, between memory and mouth." Then she leaned close, pressed the stamp to Marcelina's palm, and said softly, "You are the next hearth." Now, years later, Marcelina stands in that same space, her grandmother long since gone. She picks up the stamp and breathes upon it. Not a spell, just breath. She returns it gently to the mantel, and then she walks to her room, slips beneath her quilt, stitched with stars and vines, and lets the silence wrap around her like dough pulled close to rise. Outside, the hamlet sleeps, but not all. One window still glows. The traveler, yes. The same one who left with the marked loaf sits, now beside a small fire in the forest essay, just beyond the village. They unwrap the bread slowly, crack the crust open. Steam curls upward like a ghost sighing into dawn. They tear a piece, chew slowly, close their eyes. And in that bite, they taste safety. They taste kindness. They taste something sacred, as if every moment of Marcelina's life, every breath from her lungs, had been woven into flower and flame. AR above, stars blink in slow patterns. They do not shine fiercely. No. Tonight, they glow gently. Their patterns, if you look closely, form not constellations. One tells of a baker who loved a fisherman, another of a girl who sang 2 rising loaves. One tells of a village where no child ever went to bed hungry, because someone chose to knead their love into dew. And tonight, the stars whisper your name, because you, too, have wandered. You, too, have sought comfort. You, too, have arrived at the edge of firelight and been given something warm to hold. Now, let your own body rest. Feel the softness of the sheets beneath you, the quiet hum of night, the breath in your lungs. Each inhale is a warm loaf lifted from the oven. Each exhale is a story shared in silence. You are part of the rhythm now, not just a listener, but a beloved presence, folded gently into the stories rising. Tomorrow, the village will wake again. Children will run to the bakery. The fire will be lit. The stamp will press its mark, and bread will rise. You rise instead, into dreams spun of stardust and rosemary, into warmth that needs no words, into a world where every bite holds memory, and every sigh brings drift, sleep. The baker watches. The baker watches. The baker watches. Like she's like those, and they watch over you. Somewhere in the darkness, between midnight and dawn, a hush falls across the hamlet. The hearths grow dim. The candles become pools of scent more than flame. Even the birds tuck their beaks into feathered shoulders. But not all sleep. No. In the high hills beyond the village, where the pines hum in slow wind song, and wild thyme tangles between rocks, a figure stands under the open sky. It is not Marcelina. It is not the traveler. This figure is older than both, taller than either, and thinner than shadow. A woman, draped in wool, dyed the color of dusk, with hair and eyes that glow faintly, like the inside of an oven, left warm overnight. She is called many names. The bread mother. But long ago, when stars were young and loaves were shaped with both reverence and fear, she was simply known as Pania. Not the gold-gilded kind found in temples, but the soft goddess of crust and crumb, of the silence between mixing and rising, of the warmth that means you are not alone. Pania walks barefoot across pine needles. They don't pierce her. She hums a melody older than language, one that sounds, perhaps to us, like the bubbling of yeast or the sigh of a cooling loaf. As she walks, she pulls something from beneath her shawl, a small pouch tied with twine. And from it, she sprinkles flour, not just on the ground, but into the air. And as it falls, it shimmers, each speck a grain of memory, a fragment of love, a pinch of longing sifted fine. The wind catches it, lifts it, carries it. Down through the hills, across the creek, between the rooftops of the hamlet, and finally, through the open window of Marcelina's bakery. Inside, Marcelina dreams. Her sleep is deep, but her breath is easy. In her dream, she stands in a vast field of golden wheat. The sky above is violet, endless, and full of humming stars. She kneels and reaches for the stalks. But as her hands touch them, they turn to rising dough, billowing gently beneath a linen cloth. Behind her stands a long table, set for dozens, maybe hundreds. Each seat filled with someone she's loved, someone she's lost, someone she's fed. Her husband is there, smiling. Her grandmother, younger than she remembers, her hands dusted with flour. Even the traveler watchful sits at the far end, cradling the loaf with the star mark. With candlelight, with laughter, with silence that speaks. Marcelina moves to the center of the table, and from the oven beside her, she draws the perfect loaf, golden, crackling, still singing with heat. She stamps it. The mark shines brighter than the moon. She sets the loaf on the table, and as she does, the dream fades, softly, slowly, like dough falling back beneath the cloth, like sleep exhaling into waking. The flower from Panea's pouch settles on Marcelina's brow as she stirs. She does not wake. Not fully, but she smiles. And somewhere, deep in the roots of her bones, she understands. The story of the baker is not just hers. It belongs to the world. And now you sleep too, wrapped in the quiet heart of this story. The fire in your chest no longer roars. It hums. Lo, you are part of something older than fear, older than noise, older than forgetting. By breath and ember, by those who came before, and those who will come after. You rest in the warmth of the great oven of the world, where all stories rise together. Now, breathe in again. Softly, hold that warmth, and exhale. Let go. Let the stars knead your dreams. Let the fire soften your thoughts. Let yourself drift. And if you wish to return again, to follow the scent of flower through the dark, the hamlet wakes again, but not suddenly. No, the morning here unfolds the way dough does, under a linen cloth. Outside, mist curls along the cobbled paths, wrapping around boots and dorsals, softening even the sharp corners of old stone. The bell above Marcelina's bakery stirs first. It doesn't ring. Not yet. It simply sways gently, as if remembering sound. Inside, the air is already warm. The fire has been coaxed back from its slumber. Embers stirred gently to life. Marcelina stands before the counter, her sleeves rolled, her apron tied. Flower blooms across her hands like moonlight across the sea. She has not spoken a word, not to herself, nor to the room. The only sound is the soft thud of dough landing on the counter. She kneads slowly, not with urgency, but with memory. Each press of her palm draws whispers from the dough. Her grandmother's voice, calling her name in the kitchen as a child. Her husband's laugh as he tasted the first imperfect loaf. Her son's singing, off-key and loud, as he smeared butter on a heel, still too hot to hold. She presses it all in, all the love, all the remembering. And when the dough is ready soft but strong, she divides it into three intentions. She moves to the window, where the bread stamp waits in its usual place. The wood gleams faintly in the rising sun, its carved crescent and star-catching light like a story-catching breath. She picks it up, pauses, closes her eyes, and then presses it slowly into the first loaf. star for courage, star for healing. The third, star for belonging. She sets them near the hearth to rise, covered in linen, and moves to the door. The bell chimes softly as she opens it, and the morning rushes in, not loudly, but with the scent of wet earth and lilac. With birdsong still tangled in dreams, she steps outside. The dew coats her boots. The mist slips around her shoulders like a shawl, and as she breathes in the day, a soft voice calls from the road. It's the traveler, the one who arrived in the night not long ago. They stand now just beyond the garden fence, holding the cloth that once wrapped their loaf. It is folded neatly in their hands, and their eyes are wide not with exhaustion anymore, but with something steadier. They walk forward slowly and place the cloth on Marcelina's stoop. Then they look up. There are no words, just a nod, just a quiet breath between them. Marcelina nods in return. She steps back inside, leaving the door open. The traveler doesn't follow, not yet. They sit on the old stone bench by the garden wall, where the rosemary grows thick and wild. Each step they took on the road. Each night they went hungry. Each time they questioned if they were seen. And then the loaf, the warmth of it, the mark, the steam, the first bite that tasted like hope. They smile softly, then lean back and listen to the bakery stir. Inside, the smell of baking fills the room like a song. You can feel it too. That scent, floating toward you now. Buttery crust. The whisper of orange peel. It swirls around your senses. Gentle, nourishing, safe. Let it wrap around you. Let yourself soften like dough under warm hands. Let your thoughts stretch and rest, the way a loaf rests before baking. No need to rush. No need to rise. No need to rise. There's time. All the time in the world. As the morning deepens, more villagers arrive. A child with freckles and tangled hair, bringing eggs in exchange for a sweet roll. An old man with a limp, trading his latest poem for a loaf still steaming. A weaver who has no coin today, but leaves behind a small sachet of lavender. Marcelina takes each offering with grace. No tally, no debt. Only rhythm, only gift.